Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of The Hard Truth. Thank you so much for watching. You know, this case is really getting to be something else. And tonight I have a live session so that we can talk about what's going on with the prosecution and the defense. All right? So I want you to tune in tonight at 8:45 p.m. Eastern Time. And don't forget to support the channel. All right? Just grab that coffee, a nice hot cup of tea, relax a little bit as we begin our story.
Ryan Kohberger's attorney filed a response to the state's demand that he produce an alibi, and in it, Kohberger's attorney, Ann Taylor, said that he denies the charges against him and he could have not committed the murders because he was, quote, elsewhere at the time. Kohberger is currently in jail for the murders of Ethan Chapin, Kaylee Gonzalez, Xana Kernodle, and Madison Mogan inside a house in Moscow, Idaho last year. In the court filing, Taylor says, quote, evidence corroborating Mr. Kohberger being at a location other than the King Road address will be disclosed pursuant to discovery and evidentiary rules as well as statutory requirements, unquote. But he did not specify where exactly he was that night. Also in the court filing, Taylor says that Kohberger reserves the right to say where he was if he takes a stand in his own defense at trial.
Well, it looks like what goes around comes around. Remember, the prosecution said that the particulars of the DNA was none of the defense's business because they weren't going to bring it into evidence in the trial, right? All right, well, the defense is saying Brian Kohberger's alibi is none of your business unless we bring it to trial. Now, Kohberger is saying he wasn't there, he was elsewhere. For all the people saying maybe he was there to buy drugs or he was the person, driving the other people. Well, we've explored all of these theories. I know I have. But he's saying he wasn't there at all. So we have to throw all that in the trash and start with he wasn't there at all. He was somewhere else during the time of the Idaho 4 murders. This is his statement, not mine. So if that's the case, what does that mean? It's huge because that means the phone pings are a lie. That means the car surveillance, white car, is a lie. That means the DNA on the sheath was planted by someone else, or it's just a plain out lie. I mean, it's just, this is huge. And the point of the matter is, I feel a little bit of bullying from the prosecution. It's like they're trying to bully the defense into so many different things because they're the state. They figure they have the upper hand. They have the muscle to do whatever they want, and they want this guy prosecuted. And so the bullying is almost like, give us everything you got. Give us everything you got. Remember Al Pacino?
Listen.
Give me everything you
Give me
got.
all you got.
Everything you got.
Listen. Give me all you got.
I mean, this is not how you run an investigation. You cannot bully your way through, just because you really want to catch somebody real bad. That doesn't give you the license to just disregard all of the rules, and then explain later, yeah, I broke some rules, but we got the right guy. But if you didn't get the right guy, it's a problem. That's why you need to follow the manual. All right. Well, it's time for another common sense question. If Kohberger was never at 1122 King Road, how could he have left a knife sheath? And how could they have his DNA even if somebody else left the knife sheath? How do they have his DNA if he's never been in that house? Thanks to Dylan's statement, if Brian Kohberger can prove that he was somewhere else between 2 or 3 and 5, the time of the crime, the prosecution is going to be in a bind, all right, for some of this stuff that they wrote in that PCA. I'm just being honest because DM's statement limits them to that 4 to 425, which if you read the details of the PCA, is really from about 408 to 417. And that's that's it. There is no extra time. So if he can prove he's somewhere else during that time, and they're just swearing that they have a knife with his DNA on it, a sheath, you know, that's very problematic. How did this happen? Because only law enforcement could re-enter that scene once they call the police. So if somebody planted that sheath anytime after they call the police, it had to be law enforcement or somebody authorized to go back in the house. Because once they locked it down as a crime scene, civilians couldn't go in and out of there. So if somebody planted that sheath that early on, the 14th or whatever, or maybe 1 o'clock in the morning that Monday, they went in there and did it. It had to be law enforcement. And that's pretty rough. Because if they can't prove he did it, it's gonna have to be law enforcement. I think a video I made months ago, I know who did it. Part 1 and 2. One of those parts, we might have to go back to that. Because, wow. If this guy wasn't there during this heart-beating moment of 8 minutes where so many different things happen in a split level house, it'll make your head spin. If he wasn't there during this magical moment that they created in their own affidavit, it's gonna fall back on law enforcement, because who else could put the sheath there? Even the survivors and the kids in the neighborhood, they couldn't go back in the house once police arrived. They couldn't have done it. All right, so what do you think about that? I'm going to read in the chat after the live, see what you have to say about it, and then we'll go from there, all right? Let's go.